All right, I don't do zero tolerance probation really because this is zero tolerance.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Christian Segovia, who's placed on deferred adjudication in 2023 for the offense of aggravated robbery on May 4th, 2023 for a period of 10 years. Is that you?
Yes, ma'am.
State?
Yes, Your Honor. Violate condition number one on or about the 18th day of January 2024 in Bear County, Texas. The defendant Christian Segovia committed the offense of possession of a controlled substance related one in violation of condition number one.
How do you plead to that? True or not true?
True.
Court could find it true, grant the motion, find you guilty, sentence you up to life in prison and up to a $10,000 fine. You need to speak up.
Yes, ma'am.
Knowing that, do you still wish to plead true to violation of condition number one? Is there a proposed agreement?
It is not an agreement, Your Honor.
All right, state, what are you requesting?
Requesting revocation, Your Honor.
All right, defense, what are you requesting?
Judge, we're asking the court to follow the recommendation of the probation department. The probation department is recommending. Give me a moment, Judge. The probation department is recommending to amend the conditions for state ISF, a cognitive track, biweekly drug testing for 60 days upon his release, and ZT probation.
All right, I don't do zero tolerance probation really because this is zero tolerance. This is your first motion to revoke. You want to raise your right hand for me, please? All right, you can lower your hand. State your name for the record.
Christian Angel Segovia.
All right, you're going to need to speak up and speak clearly.
Christian Angel Segovia.
All right, why are you not successful on probation out of this court? No. Let's backtrack. So they're saying you picked up a possession case. I'm able to see everything in the motion to revoke, not considering it, but I'm only considering what the state is going on. So I'm trying to make a determination of whether or not you should be going to prison for life or 5 to 99 years up to life. You understand? So what is going on with your life and why can't you complete this probation successfully?
I'm struggling with money and I'm struggling with to live. Struggling to take care of my family that I have.
Well,
I need help though.
here's the thing. A lot of people struggle. A lot of people have issues with their finances. If your problem is a money problem, I'm going to tell you what my mom always tells all of us and what her mom told her. If you have a problem that money can solve, that's not a real problem. A real problem is when you have a problem and money can't solve it. For example, just a hypothetical. If you have cancer and the doctor tells you it's terminal and you say, I have $2 million, will that help? And they say no. That's a problem that money can't solve. You understand? So you saying that you have a money problem, that's not a real problem. It's not a problem that should cause you to pick up a new offense. How old are you?
No.
Do you want to go to prison and spend your life in prison? Then you had better get your life together. I see that probation is recommending the ISF track. I'm going to give you a choice because I don't think the ISF track is enough for you. They're saying that you have not reported. They said that they tried to do field visits at your home and you were not there. So that tells me there are some major issues with you.
Judge, if I may.
Yes.
Part of the issue with Mr. Segovia is that he's homeless. He became homeless, compounding the fact that he has a drug issue. He's asking the court, he's begging the court for help. He admits that he has a drug problem. Because of this drug problem, he obviously committed a new offense. He's not hiding it. He didn't deny it. He's here before you asking for help. He's 22 years old. I think he deserves an opportunity to get some type of inpatient treatment before sending him to TDC and saying goodbye, see you later, figure out in TDC.
I mean, I'm going to give him a choice, but your choice is not going to be ISF. Your choice is either going to be SafeP or either you're going to prison. SafeP is a treatment program, but it's at the prison, but you're not in general population with other prisoners. So your choice is either you're doing safety for your drug issues or either you're going to prison. Which do you choose?
Safety.
All right. I'm going to deny the motion, alter amend conditions to include safety and probation. I don't believe drug court is going to accept him because of the nature of his charges, but I'm going to ask for felony drug court as well. You can, counsel, if you want to talk to felony drug court and explain to him why this may or may not be a good fit for him. And then we're going to do, once he's released, I am going to want field visits, one time per month until further notice, and the UA hotline. And he's to remain in custody until transferred to safety or felony drug court. Is there anything else you need from the court to be successful? All right, so when the time gets long at the jail, because you're waiting for transfer to safety, and you want to come back to the court and say, I've been at the jail for 3 weeks, just remember that you were begging me for help and you could have ended up going to prison for up to life.
The Emperor is not as forgiving as I am.
You applied for deferred adjudication. You entered a plea of no contest on September 17th. According to your plea bargaining agreement, punishment is to be assessed at a cap of 15 years in the prison. There's an affirmative finding of deadly weapon, and the state is opposed to your application.
Is there anything you would like to let the judge know?
You want to raise your right hand? All right, you can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
Go ahead, Abby.
All right, what would you like to say?
I mean, I know I messed up, Your Honor. I understand that. But I mean, I already been to prison. I feel like if I go back, that's really just not going to do anything but help me. It's just really going to send me in a spiral. I mean, when I was on probation, I never got any help that I needed. I always wanted help. I struggled with doing drugs. When I lost my grandmother on my birthday, that kind of hurt. And then soon after, I lost my little brother who I initially grew up with. So it kind of sent me in a spiral. And then in prison time, I lost my son to CPS because the mother of my child was on drugs and didn't really want to try to get my son back. So that really hurt him. And the only support that I have is my mother, my father, and a good friend. He's still by my side no matter what. He's just encouraging me every day to do good and wants to see me do good. But I never had any type of help. I would really appreciate if I can get any type of help.
So you're telling me when you were on deferred adjudication, they didn't give you any help? Because according to what I'm reading from the criminal history, you were on deferred adjudication for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. There was a motion to revoke filed. Now I'm making assumptions. Usually when there's a motion to revoke that's filed, that means that they're alleging that you violated some conditions, and whatever condition you violate, they are supposed to address that. If they're continuing, you address that. For example, if there's a drug issue, then they'll address it by giving you drug rehab. If there is an anger issue, they'll address it by giving you a class on anger management. So you're telling me none of that was done?
No, I was on class doing a BIP bad intervention program class, and for them altering my days of class, which kind of gave me a revoke.
So you're saying they gave you BIP?
Yeah.
So this aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, that was against a relative or a family member? All right. And then you had the possession less than 28 grams. You were given deferred adjudication for that. And you were revoked. So you're telling me in all the time that you were on probation in those two instances, nobody offered you any help?
And when I was on probation for the 6 years, they were supposed to send me to ISF, but due to COVID, they never sent me to none of those.
Okay.
And just as an aside, Judge, he's only, I think.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. Just 1 second. Do you have any questions for him?
No.
State, do you have any questions? All right. So,
He's 28 now. So when all of these other offenses were happening, looks like it to be about 8 to 10 years ago, he was very young. And it really didn't have any, probably the emotional or the brain development to really have taken advantage of whatever he might have been able to take advantage of. But he's older now, much more mature, looking at 30. And I think he would take this seriously. Of course, if you so chose to give him deferred and he goes to safety, and he doesn't comply with their rules, back he comes, and you can obviously send him to prison then, but I would like to see if maybe we could give him that chance.
All right, so here's my question. My understanding, your attorney is saying that you were going through some things. So according to the facts of this case, you're offering to buy an item for someone. Is that correct?
I don't recall, but if it says yes.
No, I mean, it's saying that somebody set up to buy an item. I don't know if this was on OfferUp or whatever it was on, but the person arrives to sell his item and then a weapon is pulled on them. It was agreed that the purchase price would be $500. And then you pretended to reach in your pocket for money to pay. And then instead you pulled out a knife and pressed it to the victim's ribs and told the victim you were going to steal the phone. And then you had the wherewithal to change, I guess, I'm from the 70s where you had CBs and stuff. So you changed your handle from what it previously was to the P word. So, I mean, you had the wherewithal, even though, you know, you're saying you had drug-induced issues, you still had the wherewithal to go in and change your account name and everything. And you had the wherewithal to reach out to someone to make a plan to buy an item from them and then set up a place to meet. But you're saying all of this was in a drug-induced haze? Do you see how that sounds?
I see how it sounds. Well, at the time I was doing Xanax, and Xanax, when I do them, it was causing blackouts in and out. So I really don't remember.
And then see, the thing for you not to remember, because you're telling me you're not remembering, obviously something happened that made you remember because you went in to change your name, your handle, from where this person, from where you had previously reached out to this person.
And Judge, of course, I'm not a psychologist,
Yes.
obviously by any stretch. But I mean, you know, over all of the years, I think while there, if he's in a drug induced and he can't remember anything later, I don't think that necessarily means that at the time he wasn't able to function and, you know, obviously do what he did. He just doesn't recall it later once the drugs and the alcohol were on.
Okay. All right. Thanks for explaining that. I appreciate that. All right. I just don't think you're appropriate candidate for deferred adjudication. So I'm not going to grant your application. I'm going to find you guilty. There's an affirmative finding of deadly weapon. I'll ask for the therapeutic community because of your history. They may not place you in that. All right. Now, let's speak to time. According to the plea bargain agreement, it's cap of 15. States you're asking for 15. All right, defense.
Well, of course, Judge, I'm going to be asking for less than that. I think he went 6 years on the last stint, possibly. So I was telling him that I would ask you if you would possibly be willing to consider 8. Should you not be willing to grant the deferred?
All right. All right. The court is going to sentence you to 15 years in the prison. I'll give you credit for any time served. This is what I want you to understand. I take no joy in sending anyone to prison. I am still hopeful that you will do well. I know that 15 years is a lot of time. Any day that you spend in custody, even if it's an hour, it's a lot of time. I understand that. But you're going to have to change your ways, because otherwise what's going to end up happening is you're going to find yourself spending the rest of your life at the prison. And when you look at your history, if you pick up a new case, people are going to see that history, and your minimum is 25 years. And the law is the law. However, if you end up going to prison for 30 years, when it comes time for you to go to parole, they're going to look at your criminal history and they may be inclined to let you sit there for the full 30 years. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So there's still a chance for you to improve yourself, to get your life together. So while you're at the prison, there are plenty of programs that are there for you. Read, get an education. They will give you an education for free. If you don't have your GED, get your GED. Work on improving yourself and do not become institutionalized. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Good luck to you. Okay.
It must be tricky as a judge when it comes to sentencing and the decision on whether to give jail time or to give the offender a break, as I think the biggest thing that they weigh upon in giving a break is if the criminal deserves it and whether they can trust that the criminal will make use of getting lucky with a judge. But as we see so many times, that when a break is given, the expectancy happens, and none more so than the case of Herbert. And who is Herbert, you may ask? Well, this would be him right here.
Another chance. That's what 23-year-old Herbert Smith wanted today from Judge Matthew Destry, to reconsider his 60-year prison sentence for violating probation, 47 more years than even the prosecutor had asked for, prompting a petition that gathered 20,000 supporters for Smith.
He's a burglar. He's a robber. There's tremendous amounts of evidence supporting it.
The prosecutor pointed out that Destry had given Smith a break 3 years ago when he sentenced him to just 2 years in prison as a youthful offender on convictions of home burglaries and a strong-arm robbery. But after serving his time, Smith failed to comply with nearly all the terms of his probation, culminating in the October suspended driving arrest in a car with a convicted felon, a box of bullets, and suspected stolen goods.
I'm here to say that 60 years just does not seem fair and reasonable.
Pastor Alan Jackson, who has never met Smith, protested the sentence and promised that if the judge gave him that chance, his church would mentor him.
I have been trying to save you, Herbert Smith, for the past 3 years. Clearly, you were still out there leading the thug life.
Then he mentioned the pastor.
Good people, they want to find you a job, Herbert Smith. They want to keep you out of trouble and away from bad influences.
Then Destry dropped the bombshell.
I have decided to suspend your sentence of 60 years.
Destry gave Smith that chance, along with 15 more years probation.
Mr. Smith, you have become a symbol of a young man at a crossroads. Which path will you choose?
You might say that Herbert Smith got the best Christmas gift he could ever imagine today, but Judge Destry was very clear. If he goes off that path, he's going back to prison for 60 years. In Fort Lauderdale, I'm Bob Norman, Local 10 News.
His lucky day, no doubt about it. The pastor, Alan Jackson, promised the judge he would help make sure Smith complied with the court orders, and if Smith did not, he would let the court know.
But now he's been arrested again.
The 24-year-old finds himself in a place that he seems unable to let go. He is in jail tonight, and his arrest form reads like his previous arrests of breaking into homes, although it's unclear tonight just what led deputies to him in the first place. It appears Herbert Smith hasn't changed his ways. The 24-year-old's story at redemption came to an end on Monday when the sheriff's office arrested him for breaking into a home. Smith's story began a year ago when a judge cut him a break in a move that ended the judge's career and made Smith a free man.
I have decided to suspend your sentence of 60 years. Which path will you choose?
That was Judge Matthew Destry last fall when he suspended Smith's 60-year prison sentence for a series of robberies. It drew the outcry of some who thought the judge was too harsh. Community leaders and an online petition implored the judge to believe Smith would change if given the opportunity.
I'm here to say that 60 years just does not seem fair and reasonable.
Judge Destry later resigned after it surfaced that one of the people that agreed to mentor Smith worked on Destry's campaign. Smith went on to get a full-time job at a landscaping company whose owner also did a stint in jail.
Can't believe it. I'm living a regular life like everyone else.
Herbert is like a sponge. You show him what to do and tell him what to do once, picks it right up. It's a very smart man.
One of Smith's mentors reacted to the news in a statement that read in part, quote, "He was supposed to start a new job on Monday. He is in church almost every Sunday. I spoke with him several times during the week. At this point, I still stand by his side and support him." All right, and you can see just how much information the sheriff's office redacted from his arrest. But what we can tell you is that what we found inside of it is that Smith was arrested along with another man. They're both being accused of making off with $30,000 in jewelry from a home in Parkland. Now, because of his arrest, that could be a violation of his probation, which means that Smith would most likely be sentenced to several years in jail. He is set to make his first appearance in court tomorrow morning. We are live tonight in Fort Lauderdale. I'm Carlos Suarez, Local 10 News.
So at 5:30, a man with a lengthy arrest record who got a second chance is now getting another chance after he was arrested yet again.
He was arrested for burglary after getting that break, and now those new charges have been dropped. Local 10 investigator Bob Norman explains why.
I'm happy to say that he'll be home for Thanksgiving with his family, with his grandma.
His attorney, Brian Silver, said the charges were dropped because prosecutors had only the word of a co-defendant to back up the charges. Now those close to Smith are hoping he can make good on his third chance.
This is a young man, remember, he's in his early 20s. I'm hoping he'll grow out of this phase of his life, succeed to be a mature adult who has a job, a career, a family.
Herbert Smith failed to maintain his reform path. In November 2016, he was arrested on charges of burglary, probation violation, and grand theft. He was released after serving 14 months. Smith's journey ended in 2020, a victim to gun violence outside a nightclub in Florida.
You make a small mistake, your life gone, just like that. I think of that every day.
Which path will you choose?
Oh, the irony of it all. Thank you all so very much for watching to the end. Please subscribe and drop a like if indeed you did enjoy. I hope so. Until the next time, I'm off to feed those cats. And if you want to see another cool episode of mine without all the mandatory stuff, then click on the episode on screen now.